And from a tech point of view, I think that's something which you can take cognizance of, that if you are in a tech space where different business models of reaching the consumer are being explored, I think that would be great. The second thing is, I think consumers will look for what I call 360-degree convenience. And when I'm saying 360-degree convenience, I don't only mean quick, which is what generally the focus is today, but I also mean various modes depending on what the customer wants. For example, a customer may not want to spend time in a shop post-COVID shopping for essentials, and would expect that a technology solution is provided so that the essentials are built and kept ready for the consumer before the customer enters the shop. So the customer does the other kind of shopping and gets out fast. So that's one way of having 360-degree convenience without necessarily just saying online or offline. And I think various models will emerge and various models will be accepted by consumers. But I feel the good part of that would be that consumers will be willing to pay a little extra for the additional service, which today they are very reluctant to do. Today it's all about price. But I think consumers might move on to paying a little extra for a host of convenience related services. And the third thing I feel from a tech point of view especially, which will happen, is that consumers will seek a lot more product information, especially on the supply chain journey. Now in the West, in certain products, it is becoming more the norm. In India, it is still not there. But slowly but surely, it will start with the more discerning customers and then get down into the value chain. Customers will start demanding more and more information on product. And what we are getting away with by selling loose staples without origin, or fresh, without which farm is it coming from, all that perhaps will change. Now this may take some time, but I think it will move in that direction. So these are the few areas which I feel the industry will move towards.
Do you think you're mentioning, do you think that something like traceability will become important?
Yeah, but it is not just traceability for the sake of knowing where it's coming from, but the genuineness of knowing that if it's coming from here, it must be genuine in whatever genuine you define. That is more important than saying, I know it comes from X farm, but I want to know that that X farm itself is in a way correct, certified, whatever it may be, That's what I mean.
Thank you. So, Karan, you have invested, your fund is invested in a lot of consumer retail companies, and most of them, what I was having a chat with you, you said they're doing very well during this time, and they've certainly got a huge growth. So in your observation as an investor, what do you think they will be able to sustain this growth post this COVID, or if at all, what are the kind of new things they will require, new intervention they will require to sustain that growth?
Well, yeah. So thank you, Ajay, and hello, everyone. I think your question is very relevant. I don't think all consumer companies are doing well, but some of them definitely. Most of them that are in essential goods are have seen exponential demand rise, and we've not seen that over the previous years. But having said that, I see the consumer behavior will not be restored immediately. The beneficiaries of the pent-up demand over these couple of months will actually be online players. We will see that, in looking into 2020, the chances are that all these companies, all the online retail companies, it'll be important for them to bring precision, efficiency, and personalization across physical and digital retail. There'll be a push towards artificial intelligence, consumer packaged goods with new normal, and adding to technologies that will, on their existing technology stack, will actually increase. So things like virtual trial rooms may actually become a reality, which will change consumer behavior, or companies wanting to be more personal, immersive, and automated in their response. These at all points in time, the chances of digital retail really becoming the first point of contact, or the first preference, is where we will see that consumers will actually rely upon. The shift has already started. So let's say we've been in lockdown for 25 days. It takes about 21 days to form a habit. we've seen a lot of people who've not actually used digital medium to purchase goods will continue. Chances are that they will continue to purchase goods on a regular basis. Having said that, people have got used to planning in advance. There's limited ad hoc purchases, and this in itself will add to digital retail players.
Thank you. Vishal, thanks, Karan. Vishal, I remember you just prepared your online platform just before the lockdown began, and you didn't even do your online launch as yet for Marks and Spencers. And I remember you were very excited to go to the market. Now, having seen what has gone through in the last few weeks of lockdown and the new customer behaviors, so do you think first of all, what do you think you will do now with your launch post, which you can probably now do from tomorrow onwards? I just saw a notification that the tomorrow onwards the non-essential online business can start. So, and what are the other investments you think require, or whatever you have done will be good enough, or you think your new technologies are going to add into that?
Yeah, so Ajay, a few things. As Karan mentioned, and some Jamshed also talked about, see, this situation is basically acting like an accelerator to the digital wave. Okay, so people who have never shopped even groceries online, they are buying online. Okay, and hence, it's like a moment when we had demonetization that basically told everyone the importance of digital payments. So same is happening now. So it has told, the board members, everyone realizes that how important it is to invest on digital and to invest on customer data platform, or where do you manage all this information, how do you protect. So that's one part. Second is um, uh, what we have, unfortunately, we traded only for 2-3 days, and then the lockdown happened. And how we are preparing is that during this lockdown period, it gave me and my team and my partners a lot of time to think through what all we need to do, given the situation we are from the business continuity perspective, and what all changes. Because simple things like operationally today, a particular pin code or a micro segment in a market is a red zone. The various hotspots are changing in the country. How do you manage that and take orders, supply orders, and it's the whole operational bit. So so it's a new paradigm. So unless and until your architecture is very, very flexible and which can make those changes very, very fast, I think for tech guys, it has been a very, very busy time, as Jamshed mentioned. But, I see this not just immediate reaction, but I see that next 12 to 18 months, it's going to be another problem that on the talent side, what I'm seeing is that a lot of parents are going to tell kids that, stay away from companies which doesn't have very strong foundation. That is going to happen. And I see that a lot of youngsters will stay away from not so strong companies. And this is going to happen in this, my personal view. And another thing is that this reset in consumer behavior is going to push more and more all the businesses to think and enable their IT teams to even work with a lot of freelancers and the whole paradigm, And another thing which, because there are a lot of people in this webinar, another thing that as an industry, because it's not just one department or the another department, it's the whole companies are struggling on the cash. And it's very important that our tech vendors, as an industry, we should have a conversation with them. So we are talking, Rakesh spoke about the policy framework supporting various different industry and the industry segments. But apart from this, there is not so much of an effort by the suppliers of tech, whether it's SAPs of the world, Microsoft, and so on and so forth, in terms of reducing some costs and moving it to, longer, at a lower rate and to a longer payout time. I think the whole industry need to also look at that and ask for more from these suppliers. That's my point of view.
Thanks, Vishal. You actually have taken away one of my questions earlier. So what I was coming to this tech vendor thing later on, but that's fine. So Jamshedji, let me come back to you. And when do you think that the customers will start going back to malls?
Oh, I think
Yeah.
that'll take some doing. I think that perhaps in the beginning, of course, depending on the government rules, but assuming that the government does relax, I personally feel that while maybe in the much more upmarket malls, people might start trickling in, knowing fully well that not too many people come for that kind of shopping. But I think it'll be a while, uh, I would say even up to Diwali, certainly not. And then it could be that the pull of Diwali and people's sort of need to celebrate something might bring them back. But I feel that until such time as that happens, a set of the middle and upper middle class will certainly refrain. Having said that, there are certain other people who actually are living in conditions which are a lot more cramped and a lot more uh, sort of confined than a mall would be. And I feel that personally, it is those people who will start coming out a lot more, but that doesn't help them all because the shopping basket may not be very large. But the main shoppers, I think, will stay away. And like has been observed by others, they'd rather do their shopping online because the last thing one wants to do is take any sort of chance merely to get a mall environment and a mall atmosphere. At the end of the day, you're buying product, and that product, if it's available. What can, I think, happen, or what I think malls should do is they should take the challenge and go digital as a mall.
Yeah, I was about to come to that. That
Yes.
there is a talk of virtual malls being created.
Well, I think I know from some
Marketplace.
other panel discussion I attended where Dubai City Mall is planning to do that, to create a virtual mall wherein you bring all the mall's facilities together online and so on and so forth. But I think people will be a lot more circumspect. And even when it does open up, because of people's concerns of social distancing, even if the government is not insisting on it, would mean that per force the footfalls will have to come down. And according to me, that will increase the cost of service. And obviously the cost of output, which in turn will again reduce the number of people coming.
Mm.
So I wouldn't want to be a mall developer right now.
Okay. Thank you. Karan, let me get back to you. Rakeshji, you have so much of real estate and, you're across formats. And I don't know whether you expect customers to come back soon or not. And I read recently you have just renegotiated a lot of your rentals and your commercial terms. So how long you think you will wait for these real estates to remain as it is in case the customer trend changes towards more online and less in the physical store?
See, I think we can't paint a picture of a world which is extraordinarily different from what it was in January, right? Otherwise we all get lost now, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a fear, and the fear would get addressed. Hopefully, the people will come together, and we will have a vaccine, maybe later, sometime this year or later. After that, but ultimately the vaccine will come, and thereafter the people will start feeling more secure, and life should be back to the way we knew. So otherwise, it's not going to be easy, right? So ultimately, I do believe the fact that stores have an important role to play, and even in this period which is ahead, let's say the uncertainty that exists, and if it exists, let's say for another 3 to 4 months, I think I have been talking to various mall operators and also retailers like us. Some of our stores are continue to be operational even today. We are continuing to sell grocery products there. And all of us have taken adequate precautions to make the customer feel safe by doing the right level of sanitization, ensuring that there's crowd control inside the stores. Also, of course, one has adopted additional technology. One is delivering a lot more products online. Now, if the habit of shopping online becomes more consistent, right, then we would have a case where ultimately we could have more business going out of the stores to to customers at their home. Also, what's got proven quite well in the last 3 to 4 weeks is that when it comes to grocery, the only way grocery can reach customers' homes if it is linked to a store which is close by. Centralized distribution, etc., has just not worked. People have failed miserably. Some of the largest players have not been able to live up to the expectations. Retailers and the kiranas have been the only help that majority of the consumers at large has had. I think it's only a reflection saying that tomorrow technology companies or marketplaces and retail stores must work together in order to serve the needs of the consumers. And that partnership has to become more closer. Unfortunately, regulation here also is tremendously restrictive. Beats everybody, has no logic as to why a retailer and a marketplace should not have any strategic relationships. Some of these strategic relationships are dependent on participation of risk sharing with the root of equity or whatever. So I think not only do we need to sort of rethink how we will reach out to consumers, and I think this country has some of the finest entrepreneurs. We will all come together to ensure that we can serve the customers in whatever form it sort of evolves. I just hope the fact that the government at large also accepts the reality that is staring in front of us and becomes more flexible in allowing businesses to flourish. The notification which has come out this morning, which sort of says a non-essential retail should not be started on an online platform basis, is just another reflection of an absurd reaction by the government. And I think these kind of things are not acceptable. And I think we need to rise up to the occasion and ensure the fact that customers at large can come back to some normalcy in life.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you because there was yesterday, I think there was some confusion at the government end, and not today they have revoked that notification once again. So Karan, in your opinion, what do you think will be the strategy of these startups, consumer retail startups, which are suddenly seeing a big spike in the business? And in your opinion, as an investor, again, what do you think will be their strategy to remain, relevant in this new space, and especially when the space becomes larger after the COVID is over?
So one point I'd like to agree with Rakesh is that the small kirana stores and the digital format e-commerce players need to work together. Considering that all the kirana stores have actually been the first point of contact and tided a lot of people through this period. Having said that, people will actually remember the value and the retailers and the consumer good companies that actually met their demands during this period and were able to provide solutions for them. And this will influence long-term loyalty and affinity. Over and above that, I think the e-commerce players will actually invest a lot in supply chain. They will try and enhance the digital experience by quicker supply chains, cleaner supply chains. And I think one of the key aspects that companies will really need to focus on is actually communication. Communication is extremely important with the consumer in order to make them comfortable that that there is a certain level of cleanliness that is being maintained, and the touch points that the product actually goes through is absolutely clean, and we are getting a product that is free from any virus. I think this is very, very important. So all online shopping experience will become more visually realistic and more detailed as possible. The chances of consumers actually trying to or companies actually trying to create consumer experience by various videos, getting them to understand the products better in a more detailed manner is something that will actually be that'll be explored. So again, few points that, few takeaways: more digital and digital interaction with consumer, comfortable experience for the consumer, and quicker supply chain. That is what is going to actually create a real possibility and enhance experience going forward.
Thanks, Karan. Vishal, coming back to you, now some of them mentioned that augmented reality, virtual reality will become a new thing, of a new way of shopping. So do you think a fashion retailer like you will start working on, instead of having fashion experts in your stores, you might as well have fashion models in the store and start giving them experience over Zoom or some video network to your customers, and they can buy over the video, something like that, where the fashion is sold over the video experiences, live streaming. And I believe something like this has already begun in China, where they're now using live streaming as a way of displaying and demonstrating the especially fashion products using models. What are your thoughts about it?
So Ajay,
Being an international chain anyway,
so I'll tell you, it's a very interesting topic actually from a tech perspective, but from a consumer perspective, if you look at how will a consumer would like to look at doing this. So it's a mix of both we have to do, as Rakesh is trying to inject all the optimism in this discussion. I am with him because I have few friends in the event industry, and they are very busy in post-COVID party. They, you know, they are booking a lot of spaces in October, November, December. One side of the world is they are they're tired and they want to go out and celebrate and run the life as usual. And then the other side of world, definitely we are very cautious and we are going to have all these tools that you spoke about. And as recent as yesterday, I actually I was going through a demo from a startup was trying to sell me a virtual trial room for my site, which we are now again we have to halt. So, and it's very, very straightforward. Now technology has evolved so much that it's very, very easy to get this up and running on your site. But the aspect that you mentioned, that the common man, or rather than having models, you basically make your end consumers wear your stuff and then do play with the brand and play with the styling and so on and so forth. There are various ideas around it. As Karan mentioned, that this situation has actually told us that content communication and consumer has evolved, and content also need to be looked at from a very different perspective, from the marketing perspective. And how do you involve content, whether it's user generated or even celebrities, onto your platform, is a very interesting proposition. But if you ask me what am I doing about it, frankly, I'm in a very early stage on this, uh, because my first perspective is that can I get product in time for people who are trying to, because the season has changed. We are in summer season it's very hot in North Delhi, and spring is there in some, it's not so hot in other parts of country. And if there are people who want to wear stuff, it's not about fashion that you take out, and there are a lot of essentials. So if Rakesh is saying that it's government is not very clear, I think essentials is not just groceries and few other stuff. It's your daily what you wear also is also essentials. So I think we need to get the basics right as of now and try various different things on the tech as we move on forward.
So thank you, Vishal. Rakeshji, yesterday night I was watching an interview of Rajiv Bajaj of Bajaj Auto,
Yeah.
and he said something very interesting that he has been getting now since Austria, Poland, and some of these countries have opened up. And he said, I've been getting calls from these countries and they have increased their orders by 50% more and whatever the pending orders were. And he said it was really very, very welcoming for us because as per the reports he's getting from those countries that the people are now waiting to splurge out and waiting to go out and do party. And do you think some similar sentiment will happen in terms of when it comes to high fashion and high-end products in India?
I hope so. I doubt it.
What's your view? Because you run across so many formats, so many different formats of retail, and you have
You know,
different kind of customer profiles.
I think what we should not forget is the fact that where is our per capita income? Where do we stand in the pecking order of a per capita income across the world? And we need to sort of really make the right set of comparisons because wrong comparisons mislead you. I am quite hopeful that there would be a certain set of people who would definitely look at shopping. I don't think so it's the end of shopping, and neither is the end of the world. It will come back. It would be, I would say to you, the fact that the first important aspect that we need to all work on is to create safe shopping environments. And if we are able to reflect that to the customer, I'm sure the customers will come back to the stores. And we will all work very hard as retailers to keep the customer excited by offering them the best in class products. Only thing that is going to happen for sure is the fact that supply chain is going to get disrupted. And some of us who are in the fashion business realize the fact that it's a long lead time product. And thus there is going to be a change in the cycle of manufacturing, which will sort of impact some part of the business. But come October, November, and which is when we will be in Diwali. And I think that Diwali's festivity is something that we always celebrate. And hopefully, as long as we have addressed and none of those various other charts around what COVID can do and how it can come back, all of that doesn't happen, then Diwali should be a good time to really see that the business is coming back to a certain amount of normalcy. The trouble is, I would simply say that we have an enormous task in front of us. There's a very large part of this economy which has come to a standstill. Restarting it is not going to be as simple. That is as simple as lifting a lockdown. It's going to take another about 4 to 8 weeks, maybe even 12 weeks for some of the categories to restart consumption cycle. So the disruption is longer. As long as the enabling policies are there to allow businesses to remain solvent and have enough cash to kickstart the economy, we should be in a position to sort of see a good performance from Q3 onwards, even in India.
Thanks. Jamshed, let me come back to you. You've been a CEO and a CFO of a retail business. And what do you think will be and you always focus on profitability of a business. And what do you think the role of technology in making businesses more profitable or become profitable in these difficult times hereafter?
Sorry to intervene. Just a small request to the speakers. If you all can please be a little louder. Most of the participants are facing some audio issues and they are not able to hear you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Rahul.
Okay. No, I personally feel, whether COVID or otherwise, I personally feel that a proper end-to-end digitization of any retail business will certainly benefit, both on the consumer-facing end, where you're giving consumers more choices without adding necessarily more cost into the system, and also on the supply chain and people end. But I think with COVID coming in and people also, I think there are two things which have happened. People have also, and companies have also discovered that there are certain things which are essential to do and there are certain things which are nice to do. And currently they are focusing on the essentials and still delivering in food retail by and large. And I feel that the first step would be to remove the non-essentials from the business and then quickly look at an end-to-end digitization of the entire business. To my mind, there is no other way forward than to do that. Be it in simple things like workflows and the way we communicate and work, the more complex things in terms of fine-tuning the supply chain, or on the other hand, creating basic functional customer experiences. In food retail, I'm not even saying that we need to create wow customer experiences. That's not what it is. But I think digitized, I mean, end-to-end digital, as we would call it, and clever use of AI and clever use of technology will certainly benefit retail. Will certainly benefit retailers without a doubt.
Thanks. Karan, let me get back to you. You know, what I understand is in China during the SARS breakdown in 2000, early 2000, late 2000, mid 2000, where that's where the online picked up in China, and they retained. That's how they become big player in online space. And this is the time when India is now suddenly facing a big splash in online space. So, what do you think? What India should do to sustain this growth of online hereafter? Because what I understand is that the online growth, which was to happen 3 years later in India, has happened now. So, what do you think India should do to retain that growth as an investor? What is your perspective on this?
So let me first say that once the Pandora's box is open, it'll be difficult to close. Okay. And consumers are resilient and have short-term memories, and they're inherently social. So they will follow a dualistic approach over time, where there will be people who will stick to online habits and people who will actually move to physical stores. Having said that, I believe that the e-commerce players in India should ideally move towards becoming positive and having positive unit economics, which there's a good chance now, because people will be willing to pay a little bit more for the products actually reaching their home and with clear communication, etc. So that aspect will help the entire consumption or e-commerce players drive consumption from a future perspective.
Thanks. So Vishal, as a CIO, what is? I mean, you said that, you mentioned that. Just to give a little more elaborate on that, what is your expectation from tech vendors, or what CIOs like you will be expecting from tech vendors hereafter?
See, as businesses, we are saying that to customers that we are here with you to help you and various different things. I think that thinking is not gone in with the tech vendors. I'll give you an example, and I'm very, very vocal about it. If you look at SAP, on the they have communicated to their partner ecosystem, which is basically the large tech companies, whether it's Accenture, Deloitte, whosoever, Tech Mahindra, all these companies, that please, please try to sell integrated business planning to your clients, and we'll keep the licensing free for 1 quarter. Okay. So even in this trying times, SAP is thinking of selling more. That's their perspective, that's how they look at it. And they are not even thinking of even how do I reduce the AMCs for large implementations that SAP has done. We have a lot of companies, they have spent so much on the licenses and the implementation and so on and so forth. But the reality is that they are, even in these trying times, they are thinking of selling more. So that's a matter of fact.
And 1 minute, just hold on this point. Now, if I turn your question around, do you think companies like you there's time for them to look at second tier vendors because the cost will be lower, where they do similar quality of work, if, instead of dealing with the top 5 or top 10 partners in ERP, you go into the next level of partners who are much lower, their overheads are lower, their cost is lower, and they do equally good job.
See, I think it's the job which CIOs, people like me, they have to do with the board members and the MDs of the in their company, and that guys, we are in this situation. and it's quite heavy duty, because the last thing anyone would want is to touch the core of the company, meaning the whole business processes, and touching the ERP system is a very costly affair. And to move to something which is smaller, as you mentioned, or
No, I
new.
think you didn't understand my question. I'm not asking you to move your system. I'm asking you to move to another vendor for the same system for maintenance and support.
Yeah, so I think that's going to happen, Ajay. Moving from a costly, see, the costs are going to be relooked at every line, even within the line itself. See, this virtual world has taught that we actually don't need so much of office space. So a lot of work from home, which was there primarily in IT sector, like IBMs of the world and all that, they give special incentive to their employees for not today. It's like it's happening for a decade now. So that is going to happen for many of the other businesses. So cost is looked upon in every line item. So so the vendor ecosystem will also be recasted in many companies. That's for sure, in my personal view.
Thanks. So Rakeshji, I want to come back to you because I really respect you as one of the few leaders in the industry who have very deep understanding of not just retail as a business but also technology. And in that case, and you have seen technology. I worked with you 15 years ago on technology side. And so in your opinion, what is your understanding in terms of tech deployment for these new normals which will create like digital engagement, contactless commerce and things like that? What are your views as one of the few leaders in India who understands technology so deeply?
I think the way one has to look at it is like that, many of the things that we are going to be doing now was something which would have somebody must have had implemented it or was in the process of implementing. Omni-channel as a route is going to become much larger. Click and collect is going to become larger. Click and get it delivered. Home delivery is going to become bigger. These are all anyway going to be, they were all part of the shopping journey. Right? I think the process is going to get accelerated even faster. And there's an opportunity where one could look at a scenario where you could change your store designs to sort of service many more orders there as compared to what one thought about earlier. So in fact, I was talking to a partner of mine, and and maybe the thinking process at one point of time was that we could do 500 orders a day, and that would have been the ultimate order profile. And now the thinking is it 500 the right number or 5,000 is the right number? Because the potential exists to sort of go 10x. Right now, I think 10x would have anyway happened. It would have had taken maybe another 5 years to happen. This can now happen in the next 6 months. That's a big difference. So you have an opportunity to change things. And when you want to do something which is 10x in such a short period of time, the only way you're going to be able to do is by investing in the right technology at the store. Right? Without the right technology, it can't be done. Now, is there a new technology which has to come in people's lives? Answer is no. The technology already exists there today also, and we need to start using them at different places. Some of these technology maybe we're using at our warehouses already today. Can we deploy similar technology at our stores? Of course we can do it, right? If 5,000 orders a day, it's affordable technology. At 500 orders a day, it's not affordable. That's the only difference that is there. So the opportunity is large. Omni-channel is the way forward. You could have a scenario if this lasts longer, and we are all convinced of the fact that people's habits will change forever. Then maybe the store sizes would get shrunk. We don't need to have such large format stores. Maybe we can sort of reduce the size of the store. I don't want to go into this dreaming exercise right now because I don't believe the world is going to change so much. I think we'll all come back to normalcy very soon, and that's what we need to be, right? Because otherwise it's going to be difficult. If I'm not going to be able to see the next Amitabh Bachchan film, it's going to be a challenge, right? I don't want to say the fact that the last Amitabh Bachchan film was the last one that he's doing. So that's the way I'm trying to think through. Because otherwise, cinema content, etc. It's difficult to think about life. If this is a lockdown the way that we've experienced over the last 30 days, if that's the future of our life, then it's quite worrisome. Huh?
Thank you. I think the consensus seems to be that we are all saying that everybody is agreeing that technology is going to play a very important role in not just revival but also resurrection of retail hereafter and to meet customer. So one more question I want to, and I give to anybody to answer that. What do you think are the new ways the customer engagement? Traditionally, retail has been working on loyalty programs and reward programs. What will be the new ways of customer engagement hereafter? New technologies for customer engagement hereafter. I leave it to anybody to answer that.
Can I take a shot at it?
Yeah.
See, I personally feel that loyalty and customer engagement will go beyond points and rewards.
Yeah.
To really basically curating a product service proposition for your customers. Let me give you a simple example. Even during this COVID period, unfortunately, some of the retail companies I have been exposed to have not really leveraged their loyalty database to give customers differential service. And this was the ideal time to do it. I mean, this would be, for example, shop at a particular outlet a hell of a lot. I must be the top 5% of their customers, but they have not approached me differently from anybody else. And I think that is going to change. I'm not interested in the points.
Maybe because they know you're a Star Bazaar customer,
No, all the more, yeah. So, but that aside, no, I'm just saying that if, and I'm sure some others have done it. I may not be on the loyalty card, so I may not have experienced that. And according to me, I think loyalty will move away from this points and cashback. For some segments of loyal customers, there will always be those who are price loyal. So, to curating a product service proposition which suits the needs of that loyal customer through analytics and through whatever the mechanisms that are available. So, to my mind, customer engagement will change. And I personally still feel that there will be a set of customers who will be willing to pay a little more price, but engage with companies that understand them better.
Absolutely.
That's my view.
Thank you. So one last question to everybody, and starting from you, Vishal. What is the kind of new engagement which will happen with the tech vendors hereafter by the retailers? Do you see there will be a new model of engagement, a new model of, everybody's talking partnership models. What will be those partnership models hereafter with tech vendors?
I think it's high time we should move to gain share model.
Move to?
Gain share model.
Right.
Okay, as Rakesh mentioned, if I have an order management system which can only scale up to, let's suppose, 5,000 orders, but I want to have maybe 15,000 orders. So if there is a company who can take me through that journey, and I won't, maybe I pay them for very limited, but as if I hit that number or whatever, so telecom is already there for decades in that model, that somebody makes a call from that tower, and then Ericsson makes this much money, or Nokia makes this much money, and then Airtel or Vodafone makes this much money. So I think that is that should happen. It's high time. Gain share has to be there. Whether it happens or not, I don't know, but I wish it happens. That's what I feel. I think another thing, what should be there internal to many companies, large companies, is that the auditors also need to realize how this new paradigm need to work. And we as retail companies need to drive that agenda. Because auditors will come and say, oh, why did you give this single vendor approval? And see, there are a lot of people who might not be very lucky to retain their jobs, but they'll be having a lot of expertise. So they might work as a freelancer for so many different aspects in a value chain. So will you allow all these freelancers to work? What is the framework internally? So I think that applies to tech as well, because currently, there's a saying in the CIO world that you never get fired if you hire an IBM. So, I believe that equation is going to change. You need to work with that ecosystem. wherein you work with a lot of such freelancers. So it's a mix of various different things, and the existing ones need to really have the senses in their, I hope the senses prevail in them, that the existing large vendors like Microsoft and SAP, Oracles of the world, they realize that it's a difficult time for most of the retailers and the businesses overall. So hence their pricing can't be what it used to be earlier, and they need to be, I don't know. Rakesh is smiling. He has.
Thanks.
So
let me come to Karan.
I think.
Yeah, sorry.
Vishal is so worried about SAP and Microsoft charge rates. What Vishal requires is a kind of a press note that came out yesterday, banning FDI from China and neighboring countries. He needs a support from the government to put a cap on what SAP and Microsoft can charge Marks and Spencer.
I will second him on that.
So Karan, what is your view on this, the new engagement model with vendors?
I think already, there are third parties that are driving traffic, and each company works with not more than 30% of their supply chain is given to a particular player. So they're already on a digital platform from an e-commerce perspective. I just think that the relationship will strengthen post this period, over and above players wanting. I don't see that there's going to be actually a revenue share model, but I just feel that the vendors that will or suppliers that will actually strengthen their technology stack to deliver, say Amazon like SLAs, will be given preference rather than others.
Jamshed, your view on this? You have been very unkind to vendors till now, what I understand, but now here is an opportunity for you to take it out.
I think, see, as when you're starting to look at technology and you're starting to enter new territories, I think partly it's a bit like the one-eyed leading the blind when it comes to that. And therefore, as a company, we find it easier to work with partners who are happy to be rewarded on joint outcomes. What happens today is that a tech company comes, does an assessment of the work and gives a quotation. Now, frankly, we have no idea what that assessment of the work is and whether it's large, whether it's properly done, whether it'll exceed. And there is always the fear that there'll constantly be these add-ons which will keep coming and bloating the bill, as opposed to saying that, look, let's brainstorm together to define clear-cut outcomes. Some of them could be quantitative, and I'm happy to say some of them could be qualitative also. And then we agree on the set of outcomes, and as mature individuals at the end of the exercise, see which of those outcomes have been met and not met, and agree on the. Now that kind of approach evolves, frankly. I'll give you a very, sorry I'm taking a little bit time. I implemented ERP in Titan in 1997, along with a consulting firm. And I told them I'm interested in the outcome. 70% down the project, we suddenly realized that a large chunk of work we did that had not been taken into consideration. And the vendor did it for free because we had decided on the outcome. You know what I mean? And to my mind, outcome-driven partnerships going forward would perhaps be the way, as opposed to the IT company going back, calculating billable hours, then coming back and saying, look, this is the cost of doing the business. That, to my mind, would really work.
Thank you, Jamshed, for your. So Rakesh, you have the final word. One of the, as I said, technology leader in real sense. So how do you see the new relationship between tech vendors and the retail brands?
I think the technology itself has sort of evolved significantly in the last 10 years or so, right? The really relevance and importance of companies like SAP, etc. I'm not too sure. These are legacy systems which are stuck in our lives. Okay? If you had an opportunity to sort of redo things, you could live without them also. Not the fact that you cannot. Because invariably what seems to be happening now is the fact that for everything that you require for going forward in terms of engaging with customers or digital commerce, etc., SAP, etc., just don't function very well. You're doing things on an independent basis anyway, right? It's just the fact that the legacy is so settled. I think one should look at an opportunity over a period of time as to how we sort of move out of it and build a more robust and a more stable system, more digitized system. That's the future ahead. And I would say that there's just amazing amount of companies in India, given the right direction, given the right time and the money. And I think it's very important that the money also needs to be given to Indian companies, and you can get a good product. The challenge that happens for us is that as Indians, when the overseas companies ask, our budget models are different, and when an Indian company asks, our budget squeezes like every penny is important, and there every dollar is important. I think somewhere if you can start putting in a 30-40 cents on the table, and you'll have a great product getting created, which will save you money in the long run. But I think in a better time, I'm sure many companies will start looking at these kind of opportunities also.
Thank you. I think SAP will be very worried if they were attending this session. And
I'm assuming the fact that SAP is not listening because they will increase my AMC charges.
Thank you for all your insightful discussion today. I think we had a wonderful discussion, and thanks for your time. I think you just finished in time, and wonderful having so many people around us. And we will get back to you with the comprehensive note on this whole discussion to all of you. Thank you once again, and have a good Sunday, good weekend.
Thank you everybody. Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you.
Bye.